Good afternoon again. Howard Wig, Code Green, Think Tech Hawaii. Sam Monet, Managing Partner, Plug and Play Energy Systems, and Mark Want, the Civil Defense guy, or let's call you Civil Defense Project Manager. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
For the State Energy Office, my colleague. Sam, where did we leave off here?
I don't know. Let's see where we left off. Let's get a new screen up and see. And this again, this is that same screen, I think. Is this the same screen? Okay. Here's demand response. We also do fine-grained demand response systems. They're called ADRs.
Now, what is a fine-grained demand response system? I bet
Okay.
not even Mark can answer.
All right. Okay. I'll try to be quick on this. Most DR systems, they're either shut you down or open you up. In other words, they open or close the circuit.
Yeah.
And most of them are not bi-directional controls. In other words, the utility can't do it by long distance.
Precisely, yeah.
Ours can be done, our systems the circuits can be opened and closed long distance. And not only that, but we use, and I'm going to let you know that our competitors know this too, we use RTUs, remote terminal units, to fine grain the PV from panel to panel, or string to strings. We can cut it off at strings. So if you have a system and the utility only wants to shut off a part of your production, that can be done too.
Yeah.
So we call that fine grain ADR.
The very simple analogy, inadequate, but I would analogize a light switch on and off versus a very high quality rheostat.
There you go.
Can manipulate things
There
exactly
you go.
as you want.
Yep. That's exactly it. Okay, so smart grid management software. Yeah, we have been monitoring our power plants in California since 2002 using an energy cloud and cell phones. And I was just showing Howard and Mark how my cell phone can open and close the circuits and actually operate a power plant in California.
From here?
From here. I don't know if you can see this right here.
No, I can't even see it.
Okay. So I'm not allowed to touch the buttons. That's way beyond my grade.
But he could. If he did touch the wrong buttons, bad things might happen in California.
They would shut down the power plant and we'd all be in trouble.
Yeah.
So anyway, so these are some of the batteries that have been installed around the world that use our technology. This is a battery located in French Guiana, very hot tropical place in the middle of nowhere. You see our 20-foot containers. That's a 1.2 megawatt battery. They come in 1.2, 1.4, all about the same size, depending on what kind of power range you want out of that battery. These batteries can also be stacked. They can be stacked one on the other. So here's one in the Maldives. Again, this is the middle of nowhere. It's a resort. This is again a one megawatt battery, and so these batteries are well vetted. They're designed for hot remote areas where you might have a lot of salt, and so it's something that's been done for a while. This one here is also in Europe. It's in Sardinia, and again, these are 4 of our battery units putting out about 6 megawatts of power. They come in a 20-foot container. You roll them up on a truck. You offload it. You put our power control system in place and connect it to the grid or your PV and plug and play, rock and roll. So. This one I like. This is a bivouac. It's on the top of Mount Blanc, and it's at 8,000 feet. It's a little cylindrical cottage designed by some Italians. It's really cool. It has a PV on the roof. It has a battery storage system and communications module. So when people want to spend the night up there on Mount Blanc, they spend the night in this thing. And that just shows you the range in which you can put our battery storage systems from the top of Mont Blanc to French Guiana, or islands in a salt environment. So, yeah,
which we have.
They're safe
And-
too. These batteries are non-combustible. You can shoot them with a 50 caliber machine gun, drop them from helicopters,
And
all
speaking
that
of which,
stuff.
I believe they've been deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
U.S. military has been using them.
Mhm.
Oh, and here's that screen. I guess, yeah, they're safe to be installed. They're like I say, they've been vetted by the military in Iraq 1, Iraq 2, and now in Afghanistan. So this is not new, untested technology that's going to require a lot of testing and a lot of
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. So we're ready to install these systems right now here in Hawaii. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to get our foot in the door at HEI, and maybe someone out there will help us. We'll see.
Mhm. Well, you've got some competition, but my attitude is let's try a lot
Exactly.
of different things, yeah. And
I
let
say
the
bring it
marketplace-
on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we'd like to get in the game.
Mhm.
Yeah, we want in the game. Yeah.
And I'm sure Mark would drink to the fact that you have really rugged, reliable batteries. We can have a horrible hurricane and things are going to continue ticking.
Yeah, I look at it and think how the application in an isolated location, non-connected to a grid, how, when you look at a place like an island-wide grid like on Oahu, what advantages does the system have when you already have power in these, you mentioned Kahuku or Hawaii Kai or the locations that are further away from the central generation plants. They're already connected with electricity, so what are the advantages to a DER system in a location like on Oahu?
Well, to go to that, again, my model is Iniki on Kauai. The first thing that the military does when they get in there is they bulldoze everything off the road to clear off the roadways for trucks and other things to come in with food and this and that. And so they push all of the power lines off to the side of the road, all the broken poles and homes and things like that. And then because it's a centralized system that we have right now, everything starts from the center out and moves to the outlying areas. And eventually the power lines are restored to Princeville and to the south end of the island. Well, here on Oahu, everything's centralized again. It's all down there, and you have a plane. And as a matter of fact, when I was a kid, one of my first jobs was with Hawaiian Electric, working in the Kahe power plant. So I know everything there is to know about fossil fuel generation, okay? I worked on the turbine gang over there with Joe Ayao and overhauling turbines. And so I have a hands-on knowledge of how this thing works. Anyway, when everything's centralized like that, and if all of the power lines are down out to Makaha, say, Makaha is going to be one of the last places to get any power. That's going to be concentrated first around the power plant, and then of course downtown Honolulu, Waikiki, most likely Hawaii Kai, and Makaha, North Shore, and these other areas are going to be the last, but even Hawaii Kai is going to have a problem too, because you're at the end of the line. So, the first thing that a DER does is it says, okay, we're going to decentralize our power and our storage, and we're going to manage these systems around the battery and the PV that's in that area. So let's say that, and we're going to go into this in some of the later slides, but let's say that again, I'm going to use the Makaha system. So you're out in Makaha, you have some PV out there, you have a battery and a DER and a little microgrid or a mini grid out there. And all of the power lines to Kahe are down. And so the battery storage system out there operates, helps to operate the public services, public safety in the event of a hurricane. You can operate street lights. You can power that battery up with existing PV. If there's any PV left running out there, it gets restored. So before the Ewa Nui or the Ewa power plants get up and running, Makaha is going to have its own little system operating.
Yeah, that's the power to take care of the essential services. Right?
Essential
Yeah,
services,
You want
yes.
your police to have power. You want the medical people to have power.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
In that scenario, if the distribution lines are down and you have a DER system, a little microgrid there, how does the power get from the batteries out to that, that facility, that critical facility that you're trying to power?
Well, instead of restoring power from the center, the utilities can send crews out to the DERs and start restoring power around the DER. So power is being restored at the center, power is being restored at the DERs, and as the DERs and the center start getting closer together, they all become the grid again. So instead of everything starting at the middle and, let's get things started at both ends.
Yeah, I'm thinking as I'm visualizing the Waianae Coast there, in addition to police, medical, another thing you might want to bring up really quickly is a convenience store and a gas
All of that,
station.
yes.
Yeah, because people still need to eat. The storage
Freezers,
refrigerator,
refrigerators,
And-
water pumping,
And
all of those
the
things.
gas station requires electricity to pump the gasoline up.
Part of the problems with service stations that they found on Kauai was that they couldn't use portable generators to pump service stations because of the insurance liability problem with the fuel storage and these little generators and crazies out there sometimes trying to operate them. And another problem that they had was that that without the utility being restored, all this gas is underground and nobody can get to it. So if you have utility scale, utility grade services to the service station, most likely they'll be able to pump under their
Good
current
example,
insurance.
good example.
So that's the big. That was the
Okay.
big problem on Kauai.
And on that cheery note, we need to take our final break. Think Tech Hawaii Code Green back in a minute.